So hopefully you enjoyed the MPLS Basics Pentultimate Hop Popping videos, and you came away with a better understanding of how this technology works and why it's implemented by default in Cisco iOS. If you're like me though, you probably came away with one big question. How do I disable this? Now, before we go into that, just know that you really shouldn't disable this. Except for a very specific situation, which is beyond the scope of this particular set of videos. And I guess the short answer is you really can't disable it. It's there for a reason. There's no good reason to disable it. But like most things, you can hack it. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. Just do a real quick, I guess, bonus video here and see how we can hack this to stop PHP from happening in a network. So let's go over to the CLI and get working. Okay, before we jump on the routers, I guess I'll just give you a real quick overview. Nothing terribly difficult going on here. This is our network. Just a straight line, every router, and if you watch the MPLS PHP video, you're painfully aware of this setup. But anywho, just in case you didn't, like I said, nothing complicated. Straight line, everything connected, all running EIGRP, MPLS enabled on all interfaces. Each router has a loopback 0 interface, which is its router number quad octet. So this is a 1.1.1.1/32 and 4.4.4.4/32. I don't know if I did enough 4s. That always messes me up. Anywho, just so you get an idea here, in this network, we're going to source a packet from here and this label switch path to the loopback 0 interface on R4. And as we discovered in the last video, normally Pentultimate Hop Popping is going to occur on R3, and we're going to do our damnedest to disable that. Okay, one last quick hop, and then I promise we'll get on to the routers and start configuring this sucker. What we want to do first is went out to the Cisco documentation, and I wanted to choose our weapon of choice. And what we'll be using today is actually a command. It's MPLS LDP explicit null. And just reading the description, it says to cause a router to advertise an explicit null label in situations where it would normally advertise an implicit null label, use this command in global configuration mode. And that's what we're going to do. And an explicit null is obviously the opposite of a implicit null. Well, not quite the opposite, but it's another form, another flavor rather. Yeah, it's going to be another one of the MPLS reserved labels. In this case, it's going to be label 0 for IPv4, and I believe label 2 for IPv6. We're just rocking the IPv4 today, so we're not going to worry about that. But similar to the implicit null, this guy is a reserved label, and we'll get a little bit to when this is actually used. You know, you're not going to generally be using it just to break PHP for shits and giggles, but it's generally for QoS, and that's outside the scope of this particular set of videos. All right, enough dilly-dallying. Let's get on the CLI. Oh, okay, so we're on router 1 right now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to issue an MPLS trace route, if I can type it. And I'm going to, the destination prefix being the 4.4.4.4/32, which is a loopback 0 on our last hop router, which is R4. And basically what we're looking for here is this output. And this is just going to give us a quick and dirty, it's going to show us, you know, the outgoing label on each hop. So we can see on R1, it's going to leave the router with a label of 18. R2, same thing. And here's what we're really wanting to key in on to make sure that this is occurring. We're going to use R3, which is our next to last hop. And as we learned in the set of videos, that it has another word to describe it, which is pentultimate. So this is where the pentultimate hop popping is occurring, and we can see that it has an explicit null label. So that means that we've got PHP in effect. The last hop obviously doesn't have labels because it's advertised at implicit null to R3. So we can jump on R3 and just go ahead and see the lfib. Oops. Is it space 32? I think so. Anyway, so we can see, that it's coming in with a tag of 18 and it's being popped. So PHP is in effect. Okay, so let's go over to R4. This is our last hop router, and this is the router that is advertising the implicit null to R3 for that particular label switch path. So let's go ahead and hack this sucker. And the way we're going to do that is with the MPLS LDP. Wow, typing skills not here today. Explicit, I believe. Yep, explicit null. And let's just take a look at the help options for that. And you see this 4 and 2. We'll look at that in another video. But basically, you can set up filters to determine who you want. If you have a bunch of neighbors here, so you're paired with 10 neighbors via LDP, you can set that explicit null for specific neighbors, for specific prefixes, to specific neighbors. Anywho, that's outside the scope of this video, so we're just going to go ahead and hit enter here. And so now we have this configured. Okay, let's clear the screen here real quick.